Hey, Unshattered crew, it's Kayla Monique, aka the Unshattered Adoptee, and I'm back again as I promised with another video in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month and as it relates to adoption, foster care, and youth pregnancy. So, the last video I did, which aired on Monday, if you haven't watched it, head over to my YouTube, Unshattered Adoptee, so you can watch the full video. But let's get back on topic. So that video, I discussed PAD, which stands for post-adoption depression. So that video was solely dedicated to adoptive parents. Today, I would like to focus on specifically adoptees and the different mental health struggles that we may experience. But I'm going to focus on one specific mental health issue that we sometimes can struggle with more often than individuals who are not adopted. And I want to talk about this topic because this is something that I really wasn't that aware of. But as we dive a little bit deeper into the video, I'll kind of explain a little bit more on some ways that I relate to this particular mental health issue. So today we're going to be talking about personality disorders and adoptees. And yes, I have my journal here again with my notes so I can stay on topic for you guys today. All right. So again, the topic today is going to be personality disorders and adoptees. And some of the most common ones are histrionic, antisocial, avoidant, paranoid, schizoid, and obsessive compulsive disorder. And again, like I said, we're at more higher risk of experiencing these particular personality disorders as adoptees. Next, I want to talk about what are some of the causes for these personality disorders that adoptees may experience. And some of the top three factors that may cause this are going to be genetic factors, early childhood trauma, as well as the adoption process itself. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each three of those particular causes that can play a role in the adoptee developing personality disorders. So, when it comes to genetic factors, the main thing that plays into the personality disorders when it comes to that is the fact that we're being predisposed, meaning we're being pre-exposed to certain disorders or personality traits that our bio mom or say our bio dad may experience can definitely pass on through to us genetically. Um, and with this, you can also um, a person can definitely struggle with processing emotions when it comes to the different genetic factors that play a role in the personality disorders. And it can also be regular behavior or difficulties with forming attachments, which all of those things influences a person's personal development. The second one, early childhood trauma. Some of those things we already know about. It could be PTSD. It could be abuse in the home. It can be living in a space or an environment where there's drinking, there's drugs, different things like that. Maybe physical abuse. Maybe a child before they're placed into foster care or into adoption, they're experiencing physical abuse within their biological family. And sometimes it's not even just the bio parents. It can also be extended family members. It could be through uncles, cousins. Say maybe they spend the night over a family member's house and that person has some of their own issues going on and then that child is molested. These are all different things, plus more that adoptees can experience in early childhood. And for any child, that's just going to alter the way we process certain things, especially if we're not given those tools to learn how to process those negative emotions or how to transit or maneuver a traumatic environment. All right. The next thing that we talked about that can play a role in personality disorders for adoptees is the adoption process itself. So within the adoption process, an adoptee can go through, especially if they're starting out in foster care and it takes them a little while to get adopted. You're experiencing multiple homes. You're making attachments with people and then being taken away from those attachments. So your trust in certain environments can be altered. Again, like we talked about a couple minutes ago, PTSD, post-traumatic trauma within the whole adoption process. Maybe staying with foster families who aren't as loving as they portray to be. And again, tying into sexual abuse, being treated like you're not anything, or being brought into a home and basically being treated like a slave, cleaning, doing this, doing that, but not ever getting that really emotional love that we need, that connection that everyone desires to have. Now I want to talk about some of the signs that we can look for, whether you're a youth adoptee or whether you're an adult adoptee. So some of the signs that you're going to look for are definitely going to tap into the behavioral and the emotional aspect. So when it comes to that, as far as when it comes to and behavioral expression or just behavioral development, you're going to experience sometimes with kids and also again with adults, because some of us don't get the support that we need when we're younger, so it follows us into adulthood. Sorry guys, my ring light just cut off, so if the lighting changed, I apologize, but we're going to keep going. All right, so again, behavioral signs that you can look for is going to be aggression, impulse control, oppositional defiance, meaning that no matter what you do with this child, no matter what may try, reading books, doing this, doing that, it seems like they're just constantly defiant, impulse control, stealing, and stealing can show up in different ways. I've heard of certain situations where kids may steal food, they may steal clothes, they may steal certain items. It's not always just money or different things like that, but just that impulse of wanting to just do things that often aren't the best choices. And I'm going to keep it real. It can sometimes even be risky sexual behaviors, getting in, engaging into sexual things a little bit too early, you know what I mean, and taking risks, maybe impulse control with, wanting to fit into a crowd or taking drugs just to impress somebody. So those are some different signs that you can look for when it comes to behavioral. The next one that I mentioned was emotional issues. And when it comes to emotional issues, what I'm going to talk about, we pretty much know about this. So that's why it's very important. Everything that I'm mentioning right now, I know a lot of kids may experience this in the household. So seek professional advice. Go to your doctor, have them see if there's some tests that they can actually run that relates to personality disorders. Because when it comes to emotional issues, you're going to see anxiety, depression, attachment issues. So, like forming connections with people, which are things that most people are pretty common with when it comes to adoptees, but I'm sure there are some people out there who aren't. But for me, anxiety, depression, attachment issues, I am that adoptee. And it's something that I'm still working through because it didn't come to my attention until later in life at 29 years old, and now I'm 36. So, creating new habits, changing your thought pattern, that can take time. But again, back on topic, the emotional signs that you're going to look for: anxiety, depression, and attachment issues are some of the top signs that you're going to see. But again, if this can be very common with individuals, so again, seek that professional help. Go to a doctor who specializes in personality disorders so they can actually do the proper tests to properly get you diagnosed. Because another thing with this is a lot of people are misdiagnosed. And by me sharing this information and putting that awareness out there, hopefully I can help with that number decreasing a little bit with being misdiagnosed. And then in certain situations, being put on medications that you probably don't even need. All right. So next, we're going to move on to the different solutions that someone who has been diagnosed with personality disorders, what they can actually do to take steps to improve this mental health disorder. Okay, so it's really going to be a combination of things. It's not going to be just one thing. Like in some situations, you could just go to therapy and that's kind of all you need. It's different in this particular situation. So it's going to be a combination of different things that you're going to do. So, of course, therapy. And like I always like to say with therapy, please seek out somebody who specializes in what it is you're struggling with. If you meet a therapist and you find that they're not working for you, it's okay to find another therapist. I've been in that situation. Or you may be with a therapist that was great in the beginning. Then as time goes on, you realize, I think we've kind of outgrown each other, and not in a bad way. not in a bad way, but in the sense that you reach the goals that you were meant to reach with that therapist. Okay. So don't ever be afraid to switch therapists. It's okay. And like I said, too, make sure they specialize in what you're looking for. So say if the mental health disorder is schizophrenia, um, find a therapist that specializes in schizophrenia. Just do your research, and I'm sure you can find somebody. And now, after COVID, we could do virtual sessions. So even if they're out of state, you know what I mean, you can't meet them in person, at least you're still getting that conversation, that one-on-one time with somebody who specializes in that particular mental health disorder. It can really help you elevate and grow. Alrighty. And then the next thing that ties into that solution is going to be trauma informed care. So there are also like schools or who are specialized in certain traumas. So getting a child into a school and into an environment where individuals around them understand what they're going through. And like I always say, they can empathize with what they're going through rather than sympathize, and really give them that tailored care that they need. And the last thing is support systems, something that we all need. But in this particular case, it's going to be open and positive communication, which is very vital, because a lot of times the youth, kids, even adults, we're going to be a little bit skeptic about opening up to people. And that just ties into early childhood traumas, attachments, different things that we experience. So positive, open communication. Next one is going to be connecting with other adoptees, which is why I started the podcast Unshattered Adoptee, so that we can create a space that feels like community and family going hand in hand. And so we can support one another. And again, my favorite word, be able to empathize with one another. And the last one I just talked about, which is seeing if you can find a trauma informed school for the individual, the child, or even a workplace. Again, the world is changing. So I hope some of these things can really help somebody. I definitely know on my personal journey and my personal experience, being able to connect with other adoptees, it for me, it's been through social media, and with me sharing my story, people reaching out to me and just feeling that safeness and that comfortability to not really have to dive into everything or to explain to a person, well, tell me about your adoption story. What did you go through? Because they already know. So you just start connecting on the different things that you guys both can relate on. So that would be my top thing that I would tell somebody. Definitely get around under other individuals who are adopted. You can have group sessions, maybe even family sessions. Bring your adoptive parents into the situation, because like I said, they could be struggling too with PAD or maybe some other things that they're struggling with. So just making it a community and everybody coming together where everybody can help one another. All right. So that is it for my video today, guys. Again, Kayla Monique, aka the Unshattered Adoptee. Be sure to tune into this full video on YouTube. And again, follow me on Instagram at unshattered_adoptee. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.